Hello, and welcome back, guys. This is lecture 6 of explaining the Endgames book, the 100 Endgames You Must Know. And first things first, I want to talk about a few things before we start. The first thing is, I'm not seeing enough reach, I'm not seeing enough views, I'm not seeing enough interaction with my videos, and that's a problem for me. Because first of all, I made these videos so that they can reach people and help people that cannot buy books. They cannot buy $100 courses on Coursera or on Chessable or these platforms. So I'm making it for free so that people can enjoy it. If I don't see enough people enjoying it, I'm only see like, what is this, 200, 300 views? It's unacceptable, guys. So I want you to help me share this more because if you guys don't want me to do these videos or don't like these videos, I'll stop doing them. Honestly, I'm not doing them for 200 or 300 views. So I want you to help me share the videos, send them to your friends, copy the link and send it to post it in some pages, or I don't know, the like and subscribe, that's the first thing. But I'm not seeing enough people enjoying the work that I'm doing, and it takes a lot of time. I'm in university, I'm looking for work, I have a lot of responsibilities. So if my time is not appreciated and you guys are not, I don't know, you don't want to see this type of content, I know some of you want to, but if it's not good enough and I'm just wasting my time, then maybe people deserve to go pay 200 or $300 to see the same thing, to see someone explaining the book, putting the position on the board and doing it for $200. I'm not famous enough to do it, and I won't do it even if I were famous, but just saying I'm giving my time for free and I'm not seeing anything. Like I'm not seeing views enough. You can go ahead and see the shorts. Like I used to do the shorts myself, then other people help me doing the shorts. Now it's not me, and it's also a lot of their time. So I'm not seeing enough appreciation. I'm not seeing enough reach and uh, um, people not only seeing but sharing the content. So I'm trying to do more. I'm also planning to upgrade myself. So I'm buying a new microphone in the next few days because I see that my microphone is not the best. I see other content creators. So I'm also planning to upgrade my content, but only if I see more views and interactions. So yeah, I'm not blaming you guys. I know you probably just want to watch the lecture, but sorry for annoying you. It's just a concern for me, right? And it cannot continue like this. So, anyways, I hope I was not too um, self-centered and egoistic there because I'm talking about myself, but I hope you see the point. Okay, so this is lecture 6, guys, of the 100 endgames you must know. The good thing is after this lecture, we've already finished 1/4 of the book. So we did a good step. And today we're going to explain endgame 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. So let's start with the first endgame. This is, as you can see, a theoretical win for white. Yeah. So can you guys stop the video and think what is the move for white here? And don't try to calculate to the end. I don't think that's... I think here it's possible. Try to calculate to the end. How does white win this? Well, I hope you stop the video. The idea is, if we keep checking, harassing this black king, we can finally get him to a2. And if our queen is on this file, somewhere on this file, let's say it's on b4, let's say on b4, and the king is here. If that's the case, then we can just bring our king here and checkmate this king. Because this queen then will have no authority. It cannot do anything. If our king is here and our queen is here, for example, and his king is here, when I bring the king and here and it's his turn to play, the king is suffocated by its own king, and going here or here will not help Going here means checkmate. I'll checkmate you. So I'm trying to use my queen to threaten the black king to push him into suffocating his own queen and winning the game. So we start by giving the check here on c5. The king goes to a2, then we give another check. The king's run. Then we give another check. See what we're trying to do? Give another check. We give another check. Now you're seeing draw because we repeated many times. We shouldn't repeat. We should just start by here check. Okay, here we give another check. So here, exactly here, as soon as the black king goes to a2, you take this file now with the queen. So you give another check. Now, exactly. Now he has to go back to a2, and you're taking this file, and then you bring the king. So once he goes to a2, you play king to c2. Yes, but he has a queen. He cannot do anything with his queen. His queen here is worthless. He cannot give the check. We'll just take him. So if he does this, we'll just win the game. Right? And he cannot block here. Same thing. He can only like delay the checkmate. So for example, he goes here, or let's say he goes here. It's still checkmate. He can delay it by giving a check. It's stupid, but right. Then he goes here, then it's checkmate. So the idea is try to suffocate the queen by its own king, and once you put that queen on the b file, you can bring your king on the c file, and the queen cannot check you. It cannot do anything. His queen is dead. Right? So that's the first idea. And it occurs sometimes. So when you see yourself having a king and queen and him having a king and queen, don't directly assume it's a draw. Don't assume that. Look for ways to win, especially if his queen is in a bad position. If his queen is in the corner, maybe you can suffocate them into each other. You can crumble them and win the game. So next one, this one. Okay, this one is I don't know if I should show you the eval bar, guys, but yeah, it's white to play here, and white is winning. First of all, let's say you're playing as white. How would you try to win this position? Because it's either a win or a draw. It's either a win for white or a draw. Black cannot win this position because in the worst case, white would simply sacrifice his rook for this pawn and it's a draw. So black is fighting for the draw and white is trying to win. You're white here, you start playing. What is the pattern? How do you calculate this? Well, first of all, you can use what is called tempos or tempi here. I think tempi is the plural of tempo, which is calculating how many steps are needed for you as white to stop the black pawn. And after you calculate that, you calculate how many steps is needed from black to promote his queen. So white needs to bring his king to control this c1 square and bring his rook to control the c1 square. And black needs to bring his pawn to the c1 square and to bring his king to control the c1 square as a defender of the pawn, right? So let's calculate. So let's start by white. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it, 4. He's controlling that now. He also needs to bring the rook to control that. 1. It's 1 tempo. He brings the rook here and he's controlling the c1 square. So we have in total 5 tempi. Let's call it tempi. I think it's called tempi or tempos, whatever. for white. Now black needs 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, also 5. But so it's equal. But since it's white now to play, since it's white to play here, it's a draw. It's a win for white. It's a draw in the number of tempos, but since white starts, he gets an extra tempo and wins the game. So white here starts bringing the king. Yeah. Then brings the rook, because if he doesn't, of course, black's going to promote. Now black brings his king to protect the pawn. White brings the king. Now he tries to secure the last square, and exactly that's when our king, the white king, comes and controls that square. And now it's a win for white because this pawn is lost. I can take it, and it's a win for white. So you see how to calculate now. And you cannot calculate this like this in all of the positions, of course, but it helps in many positions, especially the simple ones, where there's only a rook and a pawn and it's not really complicated. But we'll see that it can also need more than that. Okay? So, and here also, let me check the book, wait. So let's say here white, instead of bringing the king, brings the rook first, here to c8. It becomes a draw, as you can see from the eval bar. Why? Because the black king has to shoulder the white king, right? So the black king has to stop this other king from coming close to his pawn, and he will succeed in that, because now he can do this, I think, and after this he can do this. That's called shouldering, not letting the other king come close. And now he will just push the pawn, and white has to sacrifice this rook. So here, here, and then maybe the best move, I think, for white is to give the check now. And then you go here. You don't go in front of your own pawn. And then white will keep checking, and it's a draw, because he has nothing else. Think about it. For example, if black goes here, and white gives the check, black will not go here. Black will simply go here, and white has nothing. If he gives another check, it's a draw, because it's repetition. So he will try to go around, but he cannot, because then there's this, and then this, and then this, and then it's a draw, right? So you also have to know that if you start by c8, it's a draw, because the black king will try to shoulder this king, or try to stop him from arriving. But if we start by bringing the white king, he cannot shoulder us, because A, there's a strong rook on this file, and B, we're faster. We're faster with the king, right? So let's say he tries to do the same. I'll just do this. Let's say he does this, then I'll give the check. He goes here. Then I'll try to wait. I think I'll try to take the pawn, so he has to go back. And then I'll give the check. And then he has to go here. If he goes here, I'll just go here, I think. No. There's a move that I'm not finding. If he goes here... Yeah, you go there. And he goes back to start the pawn. Maybe you go around with the king. Yeah, you try to go around the king. So now let's say he does this, then yeah, you're shouldering him exactly. So now when you give the check, he has to go in front of his pawn. Yeah, that's why you go f3. Now he has to go here. Then you come closer with the king, and here, here. Okay, let me calculate this. Here, here, here. Not it. Okay, so now you give the check. He goes in front of his pawn. Then you go here. Then he goes here. And here it's a draw. This is a clear draw. And the next move, white will take the pawn. Okay? So that's very important. I didn't want to leave you guys without a full analysis. This is a full analysis of the game. So here you count the tempos and you start with the king. Because if you put your rook here, he will try to shoulder your king and keep him away from this pawn. Right? And we saw the whole analysis there. So let's go ahead with the next game. So here, okay, here again it's white to move, white to play, and he's trying to stop again this black pawn that's trying to queen. It's the same pattern, but there's a difference here. The difference here is that black is trying to queen on the e file, and our rook is now already controlling the e file. We don't have to bring him to the e file. So not the e file, the e1 square, sorry. He has to control the e1 square, and he's already controlling the e1 square. So we don't need a tempo to bring him. Now we're gonna calculate with the tempos method again. So me as white, I want to stop this. Let me calculate. First of all, I have to control this square. Okay, how far is my king from that square? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How far is my rook? 0, because he's already controlling that square. So we have 5 tempos for white. What about black? 1, 2, 3, and then 4 and 5 for the king to also control the square. So in total 5. Who starts? It's white that starts. 5, 5, but white starts moving, so it's a win for white. Okay, how does that happen? We simply start bringing our king. We simply try to bring our king around here and take that... a second, let me analyze this. Exactly. So we try bringing our king closer and closer. Now he has to bring the king closer, otherwise when he promotes I'll just eat it. So he has to bring the black king to defend the black pawn, and then I will also bring my king again, and he only has to promote, and I eat, and I'm winning. There's nothing black can do here. But as white here, you have to get the idea of playing around the pawn. You don't have to be thinking, oh, my white king is far away from action. Let me just defend with the rook. That's the biggest mistake you can make. You have to count the tempos, and you have to activate your king. You can activate your king here because your king is 5 tempos away from stopping the pawn, and also his king is 5 away from queening. So that's the idea. Now, let's move on to the next one. Again, black is trying to queen, but now there's a difference. The king is on the 3rd rank and the queening pawn is on the 4th rank, right? And we have a rule in chess: when you are trying to defend the queening pawn, so when you're white in this position, and your opponent has a pawn and a king, and the pawn and king haven't pushed, haven't crossed half of the board, you're winning as white. So here, the black king and the black pawn, the king on the 3rd rank, the pawn is on the 4th rank. They haven't crossed the middle of the board, right? So this is a win for you as white. Yeah, but how? How is it a win for me? What should I do? You should simply cut off the black king. Cut off the black king by playing in this position, rook to g5. Now the black king can never cross this line, right? And then you bring your white king to stop the other pawn and you win the game. The idea is cutting the king off. You're gonna tell me, yes, but the white king is not fast enough. Just bring him, and then you will eat the pawn with the king or with the rook. But the first idea is to cut off the black king and bring your king. And then you will stop the pawn. So in this position, after you cut off, black keeps pushing. He's trying to push his pawn to promote. Let me decrease the light here. So here, as we said, black's only move is to push the pawn. And white brings his king. And now you can play g3. Why? Because you cannot be fast enough to protect your pawn. So you cannot move the king now. You can only push the pawn. That's the only move. And even then, I will just bring my rook behind the pawn and win the game. Win the pawn and win the game. So the idea was, let me repeat, the idea was cut off the black king. And if he tries to push his pawn, the pawn will be far away from his own king, so it cannot be defended by the king anymore. And the king can only go 1 square per move, but the rook can move as many squares as possible per move. So let him push the pawn, and at the right time attack the pawn. He cannot defend it with the king, so he can only push it further. Then you take it, and that's the end of the game, right? So this is only a theoretical thing that you have to know, cutting off the king. I don't know if you guys already know that, but you can cut off the king through the rows or the columns. Both are very known concepts, especially in endgames. So if the king is on the 3rd rank and the pawn hasn't yet crossed half of the board, it's a win for white, or for the part with the rook. It could be black also. Now, if the king is on the 4th rank and the queening pawn is on the 5th rank, then it becomes a draw. Then white cannot theoretically save this, right? Unless, save this, I mean win this. White cannot win this unless black blunders. So here's what's gonna happen. Yeah, white is going to be trying to defend this position. So he's going to try to control this this b1 square. And look at this king. This king is far, far away from action, and we've already crossed most of the board. So white has to sacrifice his rook for the pawn, and it's going to be a draw. I think it's obvious. You don't have to really calculate for this, but yeah, this is what happens. What's the rule? If the pawn crossed half of the board and the king is on the 4th rank or 5th rank or 6th rank, starting from the 4th rank, then it's a draw. The other part has to sacrifice his rook to get the draw. Now we're gonna see something similar, but I want to underline the importance of such positions. Now both the king and the pawn are on the 5th rank. On the 4th rank, the black king and pawn are on the 4th rank, so they are 3 squares away from queening. Now the white king is closer, but still, it's still it's still a draw. White cannot win this. Black will simply escort his pawn, and as soon as the king comes close to the pawn, push the pawn, right? He will try to be annoying. White will try his best, but it's not possible because the pawn is too close to queening, right? It's not possible. If you play simple chess, you will win. You will draw this as black. Just push. As soon as the white king comes closer to your pawn, just push again. Now you give the check. He tried to come closer, and here's a very good trick white can do. Here, actually, if you queen, you'll be checkmated. Here as black, if you queen, you'll be checkmated. So the only way to save this draw is to promote to a knight. So be careful. Be careful as white. You could also lose this endgame. It's not probable, but if you're not awake enough, you think you're going to get your draw very easy, or you're gonna win this game easy. It's not the case. You have to be very careful. So the only way for black to get the draw here is to promote to a knight and keep checking the white king. This is actually one of the end games that we've already explained. This is in lecture 2 or 3, I think. This is a draw because both the king and the knight are not in the corner, right? If they were on the corner, it would be a loss for black. But since the knight is not in the corner, he can defend the king very, very well, and he can keep harassing the white king. So here, check, he moves, gives check, he moves back, give check. If he moves here, for example, go here and wait. Do not go to the corner with both pieces, you will lose. That's the only rule that you need to have. And if you forgot how to get the draw here, rewatch the lecture 2 or whatever. And by the way, if you didn't watch all of the other lectures, go ahead and watch them, okay? Try to keep it in order in endgames, okay? Try to watch the first and second, so on and so forth. Don't jump away, like don't jump from one to the other. Try to have a basic idea of the sequence of endgames that the author tries to present us, because he will not explain that this is a draw, because he already explained it. So there is a certain, how to call it, order in the endgames that he presents. So keep it in order. So we still have a few ones for today. So this is so here both are on the 4th rank, and it's a win for white. Actually, white can save this because both pieces haven't crossed half of the board, as we said. And the way is going to win this, I think, is by outflanking them. Outflanking the other king. So here's what's gonna happen. First of all, give the check. Wait. Yeah, and then you take the pawn, right? So I think that's the idea. The idea is, once he goes here, go here. Yeah, what if he goes here? Ah, okay, wait. Yeah, never go in front of your pawn, actually. So that's the first thing. So, right. This is winning for white, but if you play correctly. So, black is losing here. But don't make it worse for yourself. Here, if you're black and try to queen, don't put your king in front of your own pawn unless you have to. So if he gives the check here, if white gives the h5 check and you go in front of your pawn, you're lost. It's over. In the next move, I'm gonna take your pawn. So the right move here is to go here. And then the white king will come closer. You try to push. And now the white king is trying to outflank your king. Meaning he's trying to take these squares away from your king. Look. And then he will bring the rook here. And that's completely outflanking the king. Meaning the king cannot have any influence on these squares. He cannot jump to the other part of the board here or here in the future or here. He cannot be there. How to do it? Outflank the king. Bring your king to the other side of the board or the other side of the pawn. The pawn has two sides. Go to the other side and then bring the rook on that file where the pawn is. That's very important. That's called outflanking the king, the opponent's king, the black king. So again, he will try to push. Black will try to push. Sorry. Black will try to push his king. And what you do here as white is you try to outflank. You bring your king closer. You bring the rook to control that file, as we said. Black will, of course, try to defend, but then you bring your king again. You bring your king again, and it's over. That pawn has fallen. And black lost the game. He cannot do anything here. Wherever he goes, I'll take the pawn. Sorry. Yeah, even that works. I will take the pawn. Right? If you promote also, I'll take it. And I'm completely winning here as white. Why? Because first of all, the pawn and the king in this starting position have not crossed the middle of the board. And also, I tried to outflank the enemy's king. I knew that black doesn't want to go in front of his own pawn. So I used that to go around with my king and control these squares. Because if he goes in front of his king, it's over, right? So he will always try to be in these squares, So let me take control over these squares with my king and win his pawn with the support of my rook. I hope this is clear enough. Let's move on to the next position. Okay, so here it's white to move. Stop the video and try to calculate. So I hope you guys calculated this endgame. Of course, it's white to move, as always. It's white to move. The idea here is that my rook is in front of the queening pawn. That's an advantage, right? That's a good thing. It's on that file. So now the king cannot come here or here. His black king, cannot come here or here. And if I can bring my king to control these squares, then I'm shouldering the other king. I'm putting him in his place. I'm taking away many squares from him. I'm taking away space from him because he's already out of air or Luft, as they say in German. So I try to bring my king again, and that's why, because I'm trying to imprison his king. Now he pushes the pawn. I give the check. He goes in front of the pawn. The other possibility is here, but then I go here, and it's completely draw because I'm getting closer and closer to his pawn. So after the check, he goes in front of my rook, and here, yes, he's threatening to take my rook, which seems like a tempo, but it's not really a tempo because he's in front of his pawn now. So he's blocking his own pawn. He cannot push it in the next move. So I just bring my king to to the support. I support my my rook, and I come closer to the pawn at the same time. Now, black's king has only one. It's he can go here or here, but it's practically the same move. The best of them is here. And it's clear that it's already like a win for white because the pawn will fall. I'll go e3. He will push. This is very important. e2 to pin the pawn, and then the next move I'll just take this pawn and win the game. Right? This is called shoulder charging. We're shoulder charging. I'm bringing my white king to shoulder the other king. Yes, this is also a very important move. I don't know if moving the rook away is a good idea here. If I go here, no, it's not a good idea. It becomes a draw because then I think he shoulders my my king. Now my king is restricted and he can promote, so I have to give away this rook, and it's a draw. You should never allow that, right? So you bring your king, and it's a win for white. I hope this is clear enough, guys. If it's not, ask me in the comments. I'm sure I'll answer, or someone will answer this. Moving on. You know what? Let me take the eval bar away from this one. Let me take it away from this one. I want you guys to... Oh, it's already... It's okay. It's already appearing, but it's okay. So, you're supposed to know this by yourselves. Or not. I'm not sure you're supposed to know this. You're actually not supposed to know this. Because you're thinking this pawn is close enough to queening, so white must give away his rook. No. That's not the case. That's not the case here because it's a win for white. Why is it a win for white? Because first of all, white has a lot of checks with the rook. And if black goes in front of his own pawn, white is going to bring his own king, who's close enough. That's another advantage for white here. And shoulder the black king. And take away all of these squares from him. So now white is going to start by the check and see what's black's reaction. Two possibilities. If black goes in front of his own pawn, I'll just bring my king to shoulder your king and take away space from you. So now your only move is this, but then I come closer with my king, and then you push, then I go here with the rook, then you push, and then you go here. It's actually you have to give away here, right? It's a win for white. So that's the first possibility, going in front of your own pawn here. The other possibility is you seeing that and going, let's say, to e2. In this case, you just try to attack the pawn. He has to go back to the pawn, otherwise he'll lose it. And then you bring your king. He pushes. Now you give the check. And now he cannot run away here or here or here because you've already brought your king one step closer. So you're shouldering again. So now he has to go to the other part of the board. He goes in front of his own pawn. So we bring the king closer. His only move is to move away. We bring our rook. He pushes. We bring our king to control this g1 square. And it's a win for white because this pawn will fall. So that's it. These are the endgames from 20 to 25 or 24, I'm not sure. But the good news is we finished a quarter of the book. The bad news, I'm not seeing enough views. But hopefully, let's be optimistic, I'll see more views on all of the lectures, and hopefully I'll continue giving you guys good lectures and good content. That's it for today. Thank you very much, guys. That's today for oh, it's 2 a.m. Sorry. That's it for today, guys. Enjoy your life, enjoy your morning, evening, or afternoon, whatever the time of the day is for you. And I'll see you very, very soon with more lectures and more content. Ciao.